Hey kids, Mrs. Donahue, back by popular demand. I keep getting asked if I'm going to do Hawkeye commentary. And it's just been busy. It's been a very busy, tiring school year. So we just haven't had time. But I was so enthralled by the episode from this week, I had to kind of get in there and just be a nerd about it. So, if you're not up on the Hawkeye, you should be. I don't know why they're saying it's trending low and not really being a successful show right now. That just seems like insanity to me. It's a Christmas-themed show. The cast is really good. There's a one-eyed dog. What's not to like? My whole thing that I really like about it is that it feels to me like... they're playfully playing on fan expectation. So, if you think of the entire sort of width and breadth of Clint Barton's study as Hawkeye in the last four phases, we had this what a lot of people hated and felt was a random moment way back in the long ago, where it was revealed that he had a secret family. But this is such like a silly fandom thing you do, where you're like, I bet he has a secret family. He does. He has a secret family and a farm. And not only does he have a secret family, but there's no drama with it. It's a drama-free secret family. He has a wife who's very supportive of his best friend, another woman, who she welcomes into her home and names her child after. There's all of these really positive, happy, cute, fuzzy things off to the side with the mortal Avenger who is the best archer in the world. So there's that. I think the fact that they took it from 11 and amped it up to 13 with the show so far predicts fun things for the future. There's a plethora of things that this newest episode potentially hints at, and I like the idea that I have no idea where they're driving this crazy train. No idea. I don't think any of us really know. There's safe guesses, and then there's crazy guesses, and the fact that Clint Barton's secret family has been a sustained plot point for over 10 years now is crazy enough, right? So I don't really think any of us can guess it. But spoilers proceeding. Spoilers, my little ones. So if you didn't watch the episode, in it was revealed, Clint's on the phone with his wife because he's going to be late for Christmas.
Jules Acevedo, can you please stop by the general office?
Sorry, tried to cut that out. It is revealed he's on the phone with his wife, and he's like, I think all this stuff is gone. So there's lingering things that could connect them to, we assume, S.H.I.E.L.D. And she's like, the watch should be gone, but, so should all of your Ronin stuff, and that wasn't gone, so we have problems here. And the fact that she knows about his work at that point of the episode's not weird. A wife would know kind of a little bit about her husband's work. They talk. They live together. They have children together. He has to chat about work. She seems very accepting of his work, so she doesn't seem to be giving him a hard time about schedules or anything like that. And then here we have Clint going well, I don't know, do you think you can run down some of these leads for me? But first of all, she is alone with 3 children, preparing for Christmas, in your house. Did you buy any of those gifts? Clint, no? Did you wrap them? This is the every wife problem. She is the every mom right now, Laura Barton. She is single-handedly putting all of Christmas on. She has all these fun themed family things that she is running alone. And she's had the happy face the whole time, so the kids don't think anything is wrong. It's okay, guys. Dad's just a little tied up at work. Let's go making the gingerbread houses. It's so very funny in and of itself. It's just this little thing that all the parents watching the show are like, I get you. So while she's managing 3 children, an entire household, we assume some sort of income running the bills. We don't, is he doing it? I don't think that Clint's tracking their Venmo. She's definitely running all of that. While she's doing all of that, putting Christmas together and doing all the family activities, she apparently also has some spare time in her back pocket to track down missing Avengers tech and break break a weak point of the tracksuit mafia and get them to tell her trade secrets, including the fact that Kate Bishop's soon-to-be stepdad is running a shell company that owns the tracksuit mafia. Now, I think that the kind of rumors that it was going to be linked to Kingpin, that we're going to have Madame Mask in here, I think those are cool. I think they're probably accurate. At least one of them. We all want Daredevil. I think Fahey would be a little foolish to avoid Daredevil. The only weak link in the Netflix chain was Iron Fist. All the other ones were amazing. You have Heroes for Hire, you have Jessica Jones. I mean, bring Luke Cage back. Like, all those things were really good. The fact that Mahershala Ali is allegedly Blade does put a little bit of a problem in that, because he would technically be in the universe twice. But whatever. So while Laura Barton is breaking into the tracksuit mafia money laundering situation, she discovers that the Rolex, which we have no basis for, it has a number attached to it that doesn't appear to have great comic book significance, 268. So unless there's going to be something later down the line that makes 268 fairly significant, the Rolex is just a thing that right now it doesn't. I mean, I don't remember anything really attached to a watch, unless it's going to later be explained. Clint indicates that it's for some sort of international undercover agent, friend of theirs, acquaintance. I mean, they have to introduce Moon Knight. They have to introduce She-Hulk. They still have yet to introduce the Fantastic Freaking Four. There's a problem here. Please introduce the Fantastic Four at some point. We kind of need them. And the same thing, like, you bought the X-Men, and you have not taken them out of the package yet. And there's no reason not to. I've so shocked that in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I did like, they didn't do Thunderbolts. They didn't do the freaking Thunderbolts. And I just thought that was a shoo-in. I thought it was obvious that we were getting the Thunderbolts. Like, everything I did was like, oh, we're going to have Thunderbolts. We don't have really anything yet for the new stuff. The new materials, like, they're very, very slow to connect everything. I'm sure that some of the movies, particularly Spider-Man, I mean, I think the entire world knows that Spider-Man is going to blow up the new scene. It's going to create tons of connectivity, and it's going to permit potentially weird things like bringing in characters that shouldn't be there, bringing in villains that shouldn't be there, maybe swapping up some of the timing inconsistencies. Like if you open up all of the alternative Peter Parkers and all of the alternative villains, it's very easy to just later say, oops, the spell did this in other ways. There were little pockets and blurps and blips and accidents that got through, so that you could reintroduce characters that you've always wanted to use. I mean, they kind of insinuated Red Hulk exists in the universe already, but we could do so much more with that, and Thunderbolt Ross. And we could essentially fudge some of the details now that we own different properties, and now that we've opened up the multiverse and the sort of parallel universes, and we can flip all the characters in. But while so far the Rolex hasn't been determined to mean someone, could open up the door for She-Hulk, could be an X-Men, we now also have this weird thing where Laura's like, yeah, so when I, got the guy to flip, also, yes, make sure the gingerbread doesn't fall. Please make sure your brother doesn't burn himself on his hot chocolate. Yes, also, we need to worry about, and she's speaking to Clint in German, about an international undercover operation. Now, there's pillow talk and talking to your spouse about their job, and then there's knowing the ins and outs of an international undercover spy ring. So we really got an indication here that she has a much more significant past within the universe than we ever previously had. I think that very much indicated that he didn't just meet her at the coffee shop and she happened to have an interest in spy novels. Like, that seems to indicate he met her through S.H.I.E.L.D. In his S.H.I.E.L.D. days. There's a lot you could do with that. You could very easily do low-hanging fruit. There is Mockingbird. You could do Agent 19, Mockingbird. You could call her Huntress because there was some history with that in the books. And Mockingbird was technically on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I didn't watch because it was garbage. Sorry. Someone's going to be mad about that. But it wasn't a good show, and they wasted a couple of opportunities on it. And if it was halfway decent, they would retcon it all in, but they haven't really done that. I think the closest they came to retconning the show was the use of the Jarvis actor, and that was also a Peggy Carter, a Carter show reference, which that was a show they should have brought back. That show was amazing. Really good writing, really interesting plot points. But for now, we have the potential that you really do have Hawkeye married to Mockingbird, and she's just been like, no, I choose to be Betty Homemaker. I'm done with the agent life, and I am happy. Very Steve Rogers-esque, right? Very like, I sided with Team Cap. Like, we are going to, go settle on the farm because that's our right and our choice, and we don't have to always, be the one out in public getting it. We're allowed to be private people. We're allowed to hang it up and go home. Like, it makes so much sense, especially with how controversial that Steve Rogers choice was. I liked it, but like a lot of people didn't like that Cap was like, nope, I get to do one for me. I'm going home. I like that Clint and Laura potentially chose to just have a family life. That's cool. That's fine. She's allowed to be the PTA mom and just bake cookies and not have to run spy rings internationally, and just make sure that her husband doesn't get killed and that she has a way to contact him, so he can come see the soccer games on the weekend. Like, she doesn't seem to have higher aspirations than that, and I like that indicates that those aspirations are good enough for people. There's other things they could play with. The link to the Black Widow is kind of cool. I think it would be a little kind of trite to make her another Black Widow that he rescued, because it was important that Nat was the breaking point of a converted Black Widow. Then we got Yelena in the episode, and it further makes you kind of go like, what's happening here? Now, I immediately looked at my husband, who is the bigger Marvel fan, and I was like, wait, the Black Widow movie, which we were all like, why did we need to see this now? It could have easily come out a few years ago. Probably would have made more sense then. Obviously, the point of the Black Widow movie was to introduce a new Black Widow, was to introduce Yelena Belova. But what was the point? And then in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you got John Walker being recruited by the same person who recruits Yelena, by Val, the Countess. We think there's something going on here. And we previously were like, maybe they'll be anti-heroes, but maybe these are villains. We want Yelena to be a hero, but there's a lot of potential gray area coming up, especially if they do something like a Thunderbolts. Those characters are not meant to be villains. They're just meant to be arguable, right? They have their own moral code and their own compass. Sometimes they're also mind-controlled. But, like, they're not villain characters. It's kind of like in DC, you have, like, Batman, Nightwing, and Red Hood. Red Hood's not a villain. He's just not a hero. In a way, you're supposed to put, like, John Walker and Black Widows and stuff in this sort of anti-hero category. They're debatable. There's certainly things they're willing to do that other people aren't willing to do. And we saw that with Natasha and Steve Rogers. Like, Steve Rogers sometimes looks at her and he's like, I wouldn't do that. And she's like, well, that's why they have me. I'm willing to do a lot of things. Like, the moral line gets drawn in different places. And their motivation for getting in the game, like getting involved with who they get involved with, is totally different. So is Yelena a bad guy here? Who has she been sent by? Who has she been sent by, and then what are their motivations? Because this Hawkeye plot to us, obviously, is taking up our whole, Wednesday right now, but it might be fairly minor in the plot of the general scope of the world. Kate's mom made a call, and then Yelena shows up, so it does seem like she's connected to somebody, and I would venture to say that somebody is Val. But which one of them is Madame Mask? Are they going to make Madame Mask a big thing? Are they not going to make Madame Mask a big thing? Are these just, strong, independent women running an underworld? Great. Shang-Chi kind of did that, too, with the sister, running the 10 Rings. We have kind of this element of, things going on there. And so far, Shang-Chi's the only one that's not fully interconnected with everyone else, and we do have to put him in the Avengers lineup, so it would be kind of cool if, the Tracksuit Mafia had some sort of connection to the 10 Rings. I don't know that they'll go there, but it's hanging there. It's something they could do. They could touch it. You also have other potential for Laura Barton, because right now, she is the most interesting thing. Her and the Watch are the two things that we care about at the end of this episode. They haven't introduced a couple of very significant properties that they have long since owned. They have not introduced an X-Men or mutants. They kind of, with the WandaVision show, were like, oh, she already had these powers. She wasn't given those powers. She was buried inside of her. We just sort of activated it. Like, they implied that she was a mutant. Don't people know I have a burgeoning YouTube video happening here? Anyway, we have not introduced X-Men, despite the WandaVision thing going on, despite the fact that they were like, we kind of have mutants now. They full out went Scarlet Witch with her, but they seem to be making that into a magic thing, setting up the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie, which we're not talking enough about because the Spider-Man movie has distracted us all. And, like, who didn't realize this was happening? Like, I know we're all excited, but didn't we all know? Like, is anyone surprised? This has definitely been happening for a couple of years now. Like, we've been like, oh no, we're getting, like, a live-action Spider-Verse. Like, we're getting Doc Ock and we're getting Green Goblin. We're getting them all back. And we might get to keep some. I would love if we actually had a real Norman Osborn in this MCU. But another thing we don't have that I haven't even heard anybody talking about, because maybe we've just given up hope, but like we still haven't touched the Fantastic Four. We haven't touched Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom could set up reasonably well as like you need your like B and your C, B, and A tier villains going into these phases. Loki show established that Kang the Conqueror is coming. Let's go. But we need more than just Kang. Like, Kang's a cosmic level threat. And you need that. Like, you need your Thanos. You need your giant guy. You could have Kang as a cosmic threat, and then as we defeat Kang, you have Silver Surfer come in and introduce Galactus for a whole nother round. But, like, you need ground level, surface level, city level, and continental level, like, you know, small city or large country size threats. You have Doctor Doom waiting in the wings for that. I have no idea why they're sitting on this. I can only trust that they're doing it for good reasons, but like, can we have some motion? I would love if Laura Barton was revealed to be like the secret cousin of like Victor Von Doom or like Reed Richards. Like, it'd be kind of great. Like, it'd be kind of awesome if one of the many Richards that we haven't seen, like Richard Rider or whatever, was just revealed to be some cousin of Laura's. Like, if that's the significance of why she was in S.H.I.E.L.D. It would also be kind of cool if she was just a nobody who happened to be good at her job and, like, she picked up an Avenger. I would like that for her. But I can't... Now that they've hinted that there's something there, I want them to run with it and really go for it. Make her someone kind of cool. We've established most of the major Avenger characters. Like, we've established most of the various timelines of Avengers. We've gone through the Rolodex and we've recruited most of them. So, like, you know, if this was several years ago, I would have been like, oh, she could be like, you know, the Wasp or someone. But she's not. It would be kind of cool to introduce Mockingbird or Huntress. But, like, also, for the love of Pete, where are the X-Men and the Fantastic Four? I think I'm just going to be singing that song as the ship goes down, because maybe they're just not going to do it. But I would like a cool nod to something. I don't want her to be like Sue Storm, and we've had some sort of weird Sue left Richard and is like hanging out with Clint. It would be cool for her to be her own character with just like a vague connection to them that keeps it all in the family in a very comic booky way. You know, comic books were all about having like a second cousin or a neighbor or a friend of a friend, or like you and I were both at that same event and that's why we're in this together now. It was all about these sort of abstract connections that then just made sense later. Happenstance, serendipity. Like, it would be cool if something like that happened because it feels close to the traditional media. Other than that, like, I hope Lucky the Pizza Dog gets his own show, because he's the bestest boy. And I like Kate. I mean, I think Kate's going to fit with this new Avengers aesthetic they're going for. Like, they're setting this up very strongly. You know we have Kamala Khan coming. We know we have America Chavez coming. I don't know, there's all kinds of rumors about what's happening with the Spider-Man stuff. Some people are saying they're writing Spider-Man out entirely. I would think that's not a great idea. But, like, you have a whole bunch of youngins set up to take their own team on, which is what happened. Like, Avengers spawned West Coast Avengers and East Coast Avengers. You know, we have old teams and new teams. We have teams with mutants and without mutants. We have, it's mix and match. It'd be kind of interesting to see a Civil War-esque divide where you have different teams of superpowered individuals somewhat at odds, like working to their own purposes and then having to decide whether or not they're working together, which is what I thought they were going to be doing with Thunderbolts, like in a time 2 TV shows ago, and I'm just wrong, so it's fine to be wrong sometimes. Anywho, I hope you guys are watching Hawkeye. I'm also Wheel of Timing. I'm very much enjoying the Wheel of Time. We have Spider-Man coming up, and then we know Doctor Strange is coming. So we have a couple of fairly big things, though we've had very little. Besides Spider-Man, we've had plenty of stuff on Spider-Man, but we've had very little teased for the rest of them. So I'm kind of curious. We had a little tiny peek at Moon Knight with Oscar Isaac, and you know that I'm very, very excited for that. I'm excited for that, especially as it kind of insinuates we could get Punisher. Moon Knight and Punisher are that's well-traveled territory, and there's so many people saying that we're getting Matt Murdock in Spider-Man. And then you have the Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin tease here, come on, bring them back. Bring them back. They won't. This is all just teasing. But, nonetheless, the hope is there. It'd be really cool to get all those characters back. Anywho, this has been Lunchtime with Mrs. D, kids. I miss all of you. It's still weird lunchtimes. We don't really have social hour. It's 20 minutes to, run from class to food and back to class. So I miss these times together. See you guys hopefully next year. Until then, this has been Lunchtime with Mrs. D.